Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Takeoff. Today we're going to talk about the 5 ways construction companies can attract candidates into their business. So this should be around about a 20-minute episode today, if I don't ramble on for too long, that is. But I've got a number of facts and figures I'm going to share with you today. I've got 5 points as to how construction companies can attract better talent across the board. It's a crazy market that we're facing right now. Everyone who's listening to this or watching this will know that there's just so much going on in the industry. You know, there's massive risk. There's people changing jobs day in, day out. It's just an unprecedented and volatile industry that we're currently experiencing. You know, we are experiencing from country to country. There's different markets, obviously. You know, some countries, the industry's slightly cooling down. But in the markets that we specialize in specifically, you know, that's Australia and New Zealand and across the US, we're noticing and experiencing just unprecedented demand for, you know, those skill short roles of quantity surveying, estimating, contract administration, project management. So we've got some facts and figures to talk to you today about. The number one we're going to talk about is currently in Australia, there are 2,423 active quantity surveying roles advertised on Seek. Okay, now we haven't even got into it. There's currently 3,900 estimating roles. There's 5,291 project management roles, and there's 3,252 contract administration roles. Okay, so if you look at that and think about that as a sector, you know, there's pretty much only 3 major hubs, maybe 4 major hubs in Australia, being Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Perth. Obviously, we have Adelaide and Darwin as well, but they would be the epicenters of construction activity across the industry. Now, if we think about that, you know, 2,000 QS roles, 4,000 estimating, 5,000 project management, over 3,000 contract administration, that is incredible. We've got a very small population of 25 million. You know, to put that into context, I think the UK has 50 million people. You know, if you look at what's happening in look at the population of the US, it's over 350 million people. Okay, so we've got a very small population, and we have unprecedented demand for construction personnel across the board. Now, we also have record unemployment, so you know, we aren't finding them from the local industry. Well, it's going to be difficult to do so. And, you know, where the demand is off the charts. You know, there's certainly friends are no longer friends within construction right now. If you're the business owner of one business and your friends is the other business, you know, cross-pollination and stealing candidates and is just the normal thing to do. You can't get upset about it. It's just the standard practice. So we've got to look at this and think about this as an overall. How do we attract better candidates into our businesses? And I think we have 5 points to talk about today. So the number one is not being reactive to the market, but being proactive. Okay, so if you look at the numbers that we just discussed, there's no possible way we can alleviate that. If we are looking at winning projects, managing projects, we need to have a strategy in place. We can't just all of a sudden need 10 people in a business. That cannot happen. There has to be a systematic and structured approach to onboarding, attracting personnel into a company. You know, it can never get to the point where we need 4 CAs, because really that's a lack of planning, that's a lack of foresight, that's a lack of structure, and that comes down to your strategy from a tendering point of view, right through to, you know, the relationships you're building with clients and consultants. You know, are you taking on too much work? And if you are, why is that? You know, are you taking on too much work and reacting to the market? You know, is your margin being eroded and therefore needing 3 projects to make 10% rather than, you know, 1 or 2 projects that it had been previously? this is the type of questions that we need to ask ourselves, and business owners need to ask themselves. What is your strategy? What is your long-term play? And are you in an ability to be proactive rather than reactive? We can't come down to needing multiple people at once. And if so, there's obviously leakages. There's obviously reasons as to why that is, and it's not going to be beneficial long term. Number two is a bit of an alleviation on that. It's all about building a structured plan. So I'm not a business consultant. I am a recruitment consultant. I love recruitment. I love talent. I don't really love HR because it can be a lot of bullshit, but I certainly love hunting down the best people for the best companies. Okay, so, but I do believe that how do you become a best company? How do you become one of the most attractive brands in the market? And for me, those are the ones that have a robust methodology to how they're building. They have a very structured plan. They're maybe only hiring, 4 or 5, maybe at a max 6 times a year. And if they are hiring, it's usually for like that really sort of specialist technical role. They're looking to really headhunt someone into the business that's going to bring them an extra sort of competitive advantage for their against their competitors as such. And it's for me, those are the businesses that are a joy to work for. When I get a call or I basically get on an assignment or brief for one of those companies, I really enjoy working those roles because I know the likelihood of filling it is very, very high. But for the businesses that are looking between 5 to 10 people, I really have no interest level in working those roles because, one, why are they looking 10 people? That's one of 10%. You're only filling 10% of what they're actually looking to hire. And candidates really hate going into businesses that are understaffed because they realize that I go into this company and it could be doing 3 or 4 persons' jobs at once. So it just becomes difficult. It's groggy, it's sluggish, and it's not really the types of businesses that we want to recruit for. And I'm not special. I guarantee other recruiters will feel the same. And that's a problem for your business. If you have that massive gap in your company, there's a big part of your business philosophy and your plan that really isn't adding up. So maybe consider asking these questions. So, do you want to tender on all projects? If so, why? Why are you tendering for that specific project? Is there something you're looking to gain from it? If you win it, is that for forever projects in the future? Obviously, health is a big market right now. Data centers is a big market right now. Semiconductor factories, right through to railway, roading, TMR. There are a lot of big projects that are, government sectors and big clients are going to spend a lot of money in over the next few years. So there's maybe those key strategic projects companies are wanting to get on board. But on the flip side of that, is there projects that aren't really doing anything for your business and are really just becoming a problem child and aren't really adding value to the company? Are the estimators really interested in actually winning this project? Are the business owners even interested in winning it? Are the estimators and cost planners doing estimating and measurement work to win it, or are they not winning it? Nothing pisses an estimator off than doing work when they know they're not going in at a competitive price. So do you want to tender on all projects? If so, why? It's a question I think I just want to put out there today. What standards will you accept on a project as well? So, where do you cut off and where do you say no? Is that when the risk is all on the contractor? Is that if you're a consultancy, what sort of hourly rates are you making from your consultants and billable hours? Are you looking at 5% margin, 10%, 15% margin? I'm really not hearing many clients in around the 2 figures these days. It's certainly in that really 1 to 10%, 12%. I remember, 5 years ago, companies were making 30% on industrial projects. I don't hear about that anymore at all. But I do hear of companies going in at minus 10% and hoping to claw back, 15% on the project and maybe come out with 5% margin. So is that really a strategy that you want to achieve? Because again, candidates don't really want to work on those types of projects. Why? One, because they are they don't want to go in and screw over subcontractors. Like, they don't want to do that, and that's in theory what's happening. We'll go in at minus 10% to win, to claw back 15%. How you claw them back? By screwing over subbies, by giving them 150-page contracts, and having 10 people in a legal team, sitting back and just crossing out, terms and conditions and making their life a misery. QSs, CAs, project managers, they don't want to do that. That is old school thinking within construction. That's something that really does need to change. But what is your business philosophy? Is it going in at those minus 10%? Is it going in at those 15%? Or is it going in at 5%? The things you need to consider, these things need to be considered. They need to be, there needs to be a strategy in place. Do you want to be known for a specific niche? I know multiple companies out there, from QS businesses through to contractors, consultants. Some consultants might only specialize in underground rail. Others might do defense projects. Others might focus purely on roading maintenance. My opinion, the more that you can specialize, the better. Why? Because you become famous for something, and once you become famous for something, you get repeat business, and you're focusing on a skill set, and you're attracting a skill set. And in my opinion, that is just far, far greater, because you can add better content, you can add better marketing. There's a more of a structured, inch-wide, mile-deep approach to winning business and attracting personnel. If you are a business that does 15 different sectors and you're doing 5% of those sectors, you're probably finding it hard to win work. You're probably going to go through periods of considerable growth, but then again, when the market falls, you don't really have deep entrenched relationships with those clients in those sectors, so you're making mass redundancies. That boom bust gets a really bad reputation in the market, and again, candidates aren't interested. Okay, so what is your niche? I would double down from a talent perspective on specific areas. If you go in far too wide and far too shallow, it's a recipe for disaster. How do you win business? Are you winning business through hard dollar tenders? Are you winning business through ECIs? Are you winning business from a D&C perspective? Or you winning business maybe just purely through relationships and repeat business? What is your strategy? Sometimes repeat business isn't always the best business. Sometimes you can win a hard dollar project, and most of the time the clients it will come down to price. But sometimes you can do a phenomenal job for a business and make a decent level of margin, and then you've proven yourself. It could have and developed yourself from there. And when I say yourself, obviously I'm talking about the greater business as a construction company. But the strategy of winning business is important. There's so many different strategies that can be utilized, but again, those aspects of business development and going out there and bringing projects in, again, it's extremely important. I get asked by senior level executives, how are they winning work? What's in the pipeline? If they've got $3 billion worth in the pipeline, well, that's a potential massive red flag, because how are they going to resource that? Again, all of these things are interchangeable and interlinked, and again, it's something that we really need to consider from a talent perspective, from a resourcing perspective. All of these things matter. Last question within this point is, what has attracted candidates to your business before, and is that something that you can double down on? Can you put a survey out there to your current staff members and say, hey, what attracted you to XYZ construction? Those, you might hear back, it might be an anonymous survey, and you might hear back a couple of different points that you go, you know what, that's something that we really need to include in our job descriptions. We need to include in our content. We need to include in our onboarding. These little things matter. More knowledge that you have, the more power you have, the better decisions you can make. That's point number 2. Have a structured plan. Ask plenty of questions. Number 3, having a set standard of what you would expect. Okay, so this is a bit of a tricky one, because you can have too much of a high standard and you might be looking for someone for years. A conversation I had with one of my team members today is, he's recently brought on a job for an associate director, obviously a really interesting assignment, but the company has been looking for someone for 6 months. That, again, to me is a red flag that, one, this company, is possibly not a negative brand, but they may be underselling this role. It may, maybe not. It might not be called the right thing. It might need a different job title. They've maybe saturated the market. They need a fresh pair of eyes on it. Different things, we really need to consider. But one of the big things in that is, are their expectations too high? When we look at those facts and figures, 3,900 estimators are in demand across Australia. And, if you've been looking for someone for 6 months, why is that? Well, one, because everyone is looking for someone right now. But 2, we are having candidates coming in from overseas that aren't getting a look in at all. Is that because, you don't trust your business to train them? Is that because you haven't got the time to train them? Could you possibly bring someone in and onboard them to do training and development? So questions like that. But on the contrary, on the flip side of that is, the best businesses have the best people. Okay, the best people obviously will win the best projects, and from there, there's an unbelievable chance that you can build something that's really unique. So it comes down to a few different aspects. Qualifications obviously is important, being qualified to actually do the job. Character is massive, is everything. Ability to learn, take on coaching, take on direction, extremely important. Project specialisms, track record, obviously extremely important. One of the key things that I had heard for the last 10 years is hire slow, fire quick. Okay, so as I said earlier in this topic, I love recruiting for the businesses that are only maybe looking 4 or 5 times a year, because they have that strategy in place. Really 4 or 5 times a year is probably quite a lot. But in theory, usually those businesses have a really structured plan. They know what they're looking for. They know how that fits into the strategy. They know what, how that's fitting into the bigger picture. They'll go through a full shortlisting process. They'll go through a big interview process. And maybe I'm not talking about big in terms of 4 or 5 interviews, but it might be 2 interviews, an offer made, But they may have interviewed 5 or 6 people, and, they've set on the right one for them from a character perspective, qualification perspective, culture perspective. So having standards, and I always look back to football and soccer. It's my favorite sport. The most elite coaches, whether that's Guardiola, whether that's Ten Hag, whether that's Klopp or whoever it might be, they have standards. If we look at, I don't want to bore you all with soccer chat, but Ten Hag has just won his first championship or trophy, should I say, after 6 months. And, that's because he completely revolutionized the culture within the business. There's put really sort of structured plans in place. People need to show up on time. If you don't show up on time, you get dropped from the team. If you're not practicing hard, you'll get dropped from the team. You have to train with the under 21s. Things like this, there's a real sort of discipline, and that discipline breeds results, So from there, I think it's just super important to have the standard, know exactly what you're looking for, and go out and get those people. Number 4 is something that I bang on about all the time: working on your social media presence. Realistically speaking, everyone who listens to me won't realize the power of this and how important it is to, actually focus on building a brand through social media. If we think about the general demographic of people that we're looking to employ into companies right now, they're generally millennials. Okay, so they're the ones that are born between 1981 and 1996. So, I was born in 1991, so I'm 31. Basically 25-year-olds to like early 40s. That's the millennial age range. They are absolutely everything that the construction industry is looking for right now. One, because usually, once you're out of your 20s, you'll have a bit of experience. You've got your degree, your qualifications. Usually, you've got that bit of madness out of you. Your partying is out of you. You've maybe done an OE and you've come back and you're ready to settle down. Those sort of age range over 30 is absolutely perfect. Everyone's looking for those people. What are those people day in, day out? Realistically speaking, they're on their phone. Okay, so on average, I probably, as a recruiter, spend far too much time on my phone. At the weekends is like too much. It's like 5-6 hours or whatever, but like if I'm listening to podcasts all day, it can literally go up to like 7 hours of a day on your phone, which is insane, right? But if I'm only awake for, 14, 15 hours a day, 50% of my time is spent connected to the internet, whether that's through Spotify with podcasts, whether it's YouTube. I probably watch YouTube more than I would watch Netflix. Whether it's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it might be. Everyone spends their time online, and this is all about building digital assets. There is genuinely no point in spending time on hard marketing. And when I say hard marketing, it's probably not the right terminology, but I'm talking about brochures, business cards, leaflets, all that shit is completely done. It's out of the water. There's just, don't bother with that. It's a waste of time, right? What we need to spend money is on Instagram. So your demographic is between 25 to 35 on Instagram, under 25's TikTok, over 35's Facebook. Okay, so you look at that and think, okay, why are we playing in this space? Are we sharing stories? Are we sharing success stories enough? I would say not even 1% of the construction industry is utilizing the construction industry in a strong way. The only one that I can think of who does it really well is, there's two. There's the guy who does Asheville Weekly on YouTube. I mean, he has a concreting business. How he's built that brand up is incredible. He's now sponsoring the likes of QPR Football Club. He's doing, bloody documentaries on Disney and Discovery. And this is all through just documenting and vlogging his day-to-day concreting business. And average, he's getting around 250,000 views per week. Okay, if he's putting out potentially 2 episodes a week, that's 500,000. So that's 2 million a month. That's probably 25, 30 million a year. You might have some viral episodes in there. You're probably looking at over a span of, I think he started in 2020, so up to over 100 million people have seen his videos. I watch them every week. I have no interest in concrete at all, but I'm interested in how he's building a business, and he's doing it really, really, really well. If I was in a construction company right now, I would do a couple of different things. I would hire a copywriter to write really good copy for your business. And number 2, I would probably engage either a videographer or when I say influencer, it sounds like, 19-year-olds that are blowing bubblegum. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who have built really strong brands, whether that's within property or whether that's within, I don't know, whatever it might be. Utilize their skill sets, because they're obviously really good at developing brand and they know the touch points that maybe gets engagement, gets likes, gets comments, and get them into your business either from a consultation point of view or basically paying them to follow your team around and take videos of them all day. If you're thinking about it and it sounds embarrassing, and I would be embarrassed doing it as well, but a TikTok dance with your construction guys based out on site, it could be like that crazy, Korean thing that went wild a few years ago where everyone was jumping around. I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, that could go viral, and if that went viral, and it got 100,000 people liking it, then, the 100,000 eyeballs on your business, all of a sudden it's on the Channel 9 news. All of a sudden you're getting, 25-year-old, 35-year-olds going, oh, I love that you guys seem like you have a good culture. Any chance that I can come in for an interview? Genuinely so much more powerful than posting a shit ad on Seek or we are hiring JPEG on LinkedIn and getting like one like. It's like that itself is just completely demoralizing. And if you're a 27, 28-year-old, you've just come back from London, you've been working on cool projects in the middle of London, you see a brand that's getting 1 or 2 likes and you're like, yeah, don't want to go near them. It's, and for me, the like economy is a bit dangerous. There's obviously mental health problems and effects that we can have on that, but ultimately it's real. It's people look at it and it's important. And I don't think construction companies realize how much work they could be winning, how many eyeballs they'd be getting on their business. It's incredible. I genuinely think it's so underutilized. It's like shameful. Number 5, okay, final point. What are you offering outside of your current package? And obviously it's not coming down purely to money, but I do a lot of work in the pre-construction industry, estimating, quantity surveying, project advisory work, and it is unbelievable how these specific niches with the industry haven't progressed to offering hybrid working yet. I'm recruiting for businesses that are turning over billions of dollars and their estimators are required to be in the office 5 days a week. My question is why? Genuinely, why? If you have an unbelievable estimator there who's got 15, 20 years experience, he's got his quantity surveying degree, he's got all of his experience in the industry, everything that you're looking for, but wants 2 days a week from home, and you're not offering that, and so you don't take him, shame on you. You are the reason. It's complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. Nowadays with Google Chat, Zoom, Teams, Slack, all of these different communication tools, genuinely, you need to get with the modern world and 21st century. Why does a QS firm need to have everyone in the business 45 hours a week? And realistically, are they even working 45 hours a week? I know QSs are working 60, 70 hours a week. That, again, needs to change. Something just needs to change drastically. Companies always say it's all about culture and people, but most of the time it's genuinely crap. They're just say that. They go, oh, we have the best culture in the world. We go for coffee and buns every Tuesday. Like, honestly, it's boring. No one wants to hear about it. Like, just seriously rip all that shit up and start doing something different. Think of something cool. If you're like 30-year-old or 29 or, this is the demographic these companies are going for. Is there any even like project incentives at the end of your project? If you save the business, say, for example, 100,000, could you not say, hey, well done, friend, go and take your girlfriend or your husband or your family on a trip, a weekend away in Queenstown or something like that. Can we not actually look at doing things like this? They're really small incentives, but those incentives are so powerful. Word of mouth goes a long way. There's so many things that we can do as an industry. There are my 5 recommendations. Again, if you like the podcast, please leave me a review. The more reviews that you leave, the more eyeballs and listens that we get on the podcast, the more I can invest in the podcast. I am investing a lot from a time perspective, money perspective. We're trying to get this out on YouTube. We're trying to get short clips out there. We're trying to do a lot to build the podcast up. We're trying to get people into the industry. We're trying to attract the greatest talent. We're trying to actually bring together some dialogue and communication that never happens within the industry as well. It's always boring webinars and come to our conference and hear all shite propaganda. Let's get people in and actually talk about real shit. So if you like the podcast, give it a like, share it around your bloody office and get people listening to it. Seriously, we've got to get things going. But yeah, guys, thank you for listening, and see you next week.